Good morning, children. Today we will move on to the last session of this lesson. The last session of this lesson is electric shock. And what are the first aid to be given to a person in the case of an electric shock? This you might have studied in your biology also. It's very easy. That is, what is electric shock? Electric shock is, sometimes electric shock occurs when we touch. So how does an electric shock occur? An electric shock occurs when we touch bare wires or cable with damaged insulation or when lightning strikes. That is, when electric shock occurs when the insulation has been damaged and we by accidentally touch the phase wire or the wires inside the insulation, we will get an electric shock. So if we get an electric shock, we may get several dangerous injuries, blisters may occur, and even though if there is no such seen injuries, we should seek the medical help, because even though if there is no visible injuries, electric shock may affect the brain and it results in epilepsy, depression, etc. So, if a high voltage electric shock is electrocuted to a person, you should help medical help there. So what will you do if you see someone having struck by an electric shock? First, what we should do is we should switch off the main switch, and then the person who has been electrocuted should be disconnected from the shocked area. That is, do not touch that person with your bare hand. Separate the person using a dry wooden piece or a dry insulated material. Dry wooden piece. Strike that person with that wooden piece, or with a, not with a metal piece, with the insulated material. So first what you should do is, if you see a person who has been electrocuted, you should separate that person from the shock or from the electricity by striking him with a insulated material or with a wooden piece. So what are the things that you have to make precautions without getting an electric shock? There are certain things even in your textbook. This you all know. That is, first one, do not touch any electrical equipments or switches when your hands are wet. Then, do not insert or do not take off the plug from the socket when the switch is on. Always insert or always take out the pins when after switching off the switch. Then, in your houses you have several instruments of high voltage. This should not be operated using 2-pin plugs. Always use 3-pin plugs. Then, while you are operating or while you are dealing with electrical devices, wear sandals or rubber footwear. Then, do not touch the interior part of your TV adapters or the cable adapters. You should not touch with your hand. Then, you might have seen electric lines going near your houses. You should not fly kites near that electric lines. Then, it is a normal practice to dry your hair while standing near the table fan. Do not do that. Do not use table fan to dry hair. Then, the tall trees or tall buildings near the electric lines should be avoided. Then, whenever there is a electric work going on inside your house, always make sure that the main switch is off, or the MCB or ELCB are switched off. Then, there are certain circumstances where you have to take some precautions. That is, during lightning, do not work with any electrical equipments. Avoid working electrical equipments during lightning. Then, during this next one, you might all be aware of that. During lightning, switch off your electrical equipments and disconnect the plug from the socket. If your TV, fridge, etc., just take off the plugs from the socket. Then, while it is heavy rain and wind, electric lines may have collapsed and fallen into the ground. So while we are taking a walk outside, be cautious about this thing. And in case of flood or any other reason, if water enters into your house, first ensure that the mains are switched off. The next important topic is what are the first aid to be given in case of an electric shock. So what happens is when a person gets an electric shock, the temperature of that person decreases. The temperature suddenly falls. As a result, the viscosity of blood increases. Viscosity, you have studied in 9th standard. Viscosity of blood increases and the flow of blood stops. And the clotting of blood occurs. So, most of the cases after an electric shock, the person dies not due to the electric shock, but mainly due to heart failure. That is, the blood supply to the heart gets damaged as the viscosity of blood increases, the flow of blood decreases and the muscles contract and the flow of blood to the heart also decreases. So what you should do to rescue a person? First, the first aid. After starting the first aid, make sure that the victim is disconnected from the electric wire. Make sure that the victim is not touching the electric wire. Then, massage the body of the victim in order to raise the temperature. Then, give artificial respiration. Then, massage the muscles in order that if the muscles are contracted, the muscles should come into the original posture. So massage the muscles, then apply pressure on the heart so that the functioning of the heart can be restored. Apply pressure on the heart. Then immediately take the person to the nearby hospital. These are the first aid that you should give to a person who is affected by electric shock. By this portion, we have come to the end of the lesson. Hope all of you have studied this lesson. Thank you.